Hello everyone, welcome back to the Gamer's Digester channel. Today we're going to be looking at power banks and kind of a guide on what to look for when you're trying to get one for a handheld device such as the Steam Deck or the Asus ROG Ally. We're mainly just going to be covering those two devices just because that's kind of what's most popular and what's most relevant for right now. Again, things will change. There are newer handhelds that are coming out, but for right now, I'll pretty much just have the specs on those two as far as their battery sizes and kind of what to look out for there. So what we're looking at right here on screen, this is the Anker 140 watt high speed output input, but the actual name is the Anker 737 Power Bank, or the Power Core 24K. And so that 24K, it's 24,000. That means that this has 24,000 milliamp hours, or mAh for shortened. Now there's two major terms you're going to be seeing when looking at power banks. You're going to see mAh and you're going to see, I believe it's WHR or WH, that's watt hours. We're not really going to be talking about those too much because it's a little bit more complex and I don't fully understand it. So when a device like this has about 5,200 mAh or milliamp hours, and that battery is the same size as the Asus ROG Ally. So when you're looking at how big of a portable bank you want to get, how long are you going to be playing this? If you played a game on here and you kind of have an idea on start to finish how much time you have to play, just use that as a guide for how much time. So say you have like 3 hours to play, you know you have an hour of playing Dead Space before the device dies. You're probably going to want something around that 15, maybe 16K battery size if you really want to use this thing start to finish. But this might be a little bit overkill, right? So 5,200 fits into this roughly 4 times. I mean, depending on the game you're playing, right? Like it might use a little bit more, but so that's 4 lives extended essentially with something that weighs about the same weight. I kind of just compared them back and forth, and in my hands, the weight kind of felt a little bit like it was hard to tell. I wish I would have actually checked what the weight on this was, but that's kind of a big deal. Right? I don't know how many people are going to be carrying this just in their hand walking around. What I would suggest you do is get a little bit longer cable, and don't worry, I'm gonna completely go over cables here, but get a cable that's long enough to where if you had this in a sleeve in a backpack, that the cable could come out, wrap in, and plug into the device, and you'd have some wiggle room. Not much longer, definitely not shorter. The cable that this came with was about yay long, so I mean, you're really limiting yourself there, but this is just to charge the device. And this, don't lose this, right? I think this will be a good segue into cables. So this is, about 140 watt max charging. So that means that this can take in 140 watt input and output. So that's really fast. That's some really fast charging. I mean, if you only have 20 minutes to sit somewhere and let a device charge, that 140 watt cable, this is going to really help with that. Not every cable you're going to find is going to have that, and I seriously mean that. So this one I picked up online for around $9, is 100 watts, and let's talk about why that matters. Why you can't just pick up a cable from your drawer and use that. Because there's no real way to measure how much that has output unless you can look up the cable specifically, which would probably be kind of hard to do. So something like this, I believe the output is around like 25 watts, somewhere around there. So if you get a portable battery that can at least do 30 or 40, you know that you're covered. Now for the Ally, I know for sure it's 65 watt input. Like that's how much wattage it's going to use if you want to hit that turbo mode. So essentially this being a 140 watt output can absolutely do that. That's the one thing that I think you're going to want to take into consideration is how much output, the speed at which this can output power, because anything that has less than what the device needs, you're going to run into something called slow charging. So as soon as you plug this into the device, like if I just used this front cable here on my PC, which I use to just charge my controllers and stuff, if I were to use that, right, it'll tell me as soon as I plug in slow charging enabled, because that's not rated for however many watts out. And that means that this device will die while it's being charged because it's just not able to keep up, which is probably not healthy for the battery. I can imagine power coming in and going out at the same time like that might not be great, but who knows really? I mean, There's probably some articles and stuff on that, but just off the top of my head, that probably doesn't sound super healthy for the battery. Now, the the turbo mode that I talked about earlier for the Asus ROG Ally, that's kind of a big deal, right? Like if you're just playing off the battery, you're only able to hit around, I believe it's 25 watts, maybe 30 watts. But as soon as you plug this in, you're getting that full 35 watts to the CPU, which is the best performance on the go, right? And if you have a backpack, really, you're not going to be feeling that weight all that much. One thing that I think is really important is a way to tell how much charge the battery has left. Some of the cheaper ones I was looking at on Amazon, there's no real good way. Some of them have LED indicators, but not all of them do. And that's, I mean, if you're getting back from a trip, you've got something else coming up, maybe a long car ride home, and you have no way to tell how much power this has left, and you're thinking maybe it's half, but it's really only got like a tenth left, that's a pretty big buzzkill. So it doesn't have to be like a full LCD screen like this. It can literally just be like 5 LEDs that light up and let you know. I probably touched on this already, but the fast charging, I guess I did touch on that. That is a pretty big deal, but only one port can do that. Now, I could really dive into ports here, but if you know what you need to do with your power bank, you can kind of look out for that. If you know you're going to need to charge two things at once and you only have USB charger ports, get something that has two. For this is very bare bones, and honestly, I prefer that. Not a lot of things that can break, get dust in, whatever. Like we've just got the out and the in or out. So this is the port that you're going to be using to actually charge this in particular. The power bank that you end up getting might not specify, but this one is the one that you're going to use if you are looking specifically at the anchor here, the power core. Now, size, again, what I was saying earlier, where if you have a rough idea on how long you're going to be playing, you use that number to figure that out. This is 5,000, this is 24,000. So you might have some older ones that may not specify. If you're able to look those up and find out that information, I wouldn't necessarily suggest you use old power banks unless you're for sure that they are 65 watt capable, turbocharged, and they are a decent size that's not going to be a big hassle on you. And for the cable, this is around $9 on Amazon. I picked this up. This is 100 watts. So this cable I won't be using to charge this because I won't be able to charge it at its full speed. That's what I'll be using this, and I'll keep this at home. This will be what I take with me on the go. There are some that have like a little screen on here that says 140, or it'll let you know how fast it's charging, which is great. So you really know what you're getting out of it. Those are around $12. I just opted for this. I really enjoy seeing the internals like that. I think that's a really good look, especially probably when plugged into the device. It probably looks really cool. So I'm really excited for that. And I think one of the last things I want to touch on here, we're running a little bit long, is price. I know a lot of you may have wanted me to talk about this right at the beginning, but I felt like some other things may be a little bit more important to just talk about right off the bat. So this is $160 on Amazon. Now that's a little hefty. On Amazon, at the moment, they're running a $40 off with a coupon, and that coupon automatically applies if you just click on it. And that should be there for everybody. I don't know if it's region locked or what the deal is with that, but it should just apply to you if you click on it. So that was kind of the big nail in the coffin for me in a good way. What actually made me get this and purchase this was because 160 versus 120, that then lets me cover some of the cable and still have about $30 left over, to where like that's a pretty big deal for me with how expensive some of these are, up in the 200s. You don't need that. You really don't. You could probably find on Amazon a good power bank for around $60, $70 and try and find those specs. But yeah, you don't necessarily need something this expensive. I think that kind of wraps everything up here. I talked about the milliamp hours versus watt hours, the size of the capacity of these, what to look out for, the price, And I mean the size can, I think the shape is a bit more important than size for me. There's some that are a lot more flat and skinny. I can't imagine holding that is very enjoyable. So having something that if you needed to just grab it really quickly, something that's a cylinder shape or more of this kind of rectangle, can slide into places about a lot better. Because a lot of backpacks, right, are made to hold hydro flasks or some sort of water bottle. This kind of fits that profile really well. So I assume that would be a lot better. Yeah, I think that wraps it up for today's video. I'm going to be showing you guys this in action when the Ally gets here on the 13th or 14th. Mine says it'll be delivered on Wednesday. We'll see if that's true, if it gets delayed or if it comes earlier. I know some of you guys' shipping has been kind of all over the place. You've been letting me know. Yeah, if you like this video and you thought it was helpful in any way, please leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I think later on this week, we're probably going to hit about 200 subscribers. It's been pretty crazy so far. But I appreciate you guys for sticking around, and hopefully you enjoyed, learned something. But later today, I'd just like to say we're going to have some Lies of P gameplay. I think this game, I played it a little bit earlier, playtested, is about 60 FPS. Like with auto settings set on low. Yeah, that really surprising stuff here. This game looks really good. Plays just like Elden Ring, so if you enjoyed that game, you'll probably like this. But I think that's where we'll end this here for today. Thank you guys very much. You have a good rest of your day.